To go over everything in terms of spouse benefits, current spouse benefits, divorce spouse benefits, independently entitled divorce spouse benefits, surviving spouse benefits, disabled widows benefits, and all the pitfalls and the mistakes that people make. The title of this video is What Every Woman Should Know. And I know it's a bit sexist, but that's the pamphlet that the Social Security Administration puts out. It's been the same title for decades. When I ran my office, we used to order a few thousand of those every year, and everybody's complaining. It's not only women that can get spouse benefits; it's men too. So yes, I understand. Social Security understands, but not sure why they don't change it. All right, so let's get into it. And this is also a live Q&A. So if you have any questions on any of this, because there's always, as my regular viewers know, there are exceptions to the exceptions to the exceptions. So if you got any questions, make sure you type them in the live. And remember, for those new people that are watching, if you're saying, okay, I don't care about current spouse, I don't care about divorce spouse, I'll sit around here. I guess I'll fast forward until, surviving spouse. He starts talking about that. Remember, this is not only for you, but everybody around you. So kind of listen and, think about the neighbor or your relative or the person at the supermarket or wherever, the restaurant, the waitress or whatever. Think about those people and get that information in your head. And that way, when you talk to those people, oh, wait a second, do you know you can get more money so you can be a hero in your community? This is what our channel is all about. That's what our community is all about. I've already got a bunch of questions on spouse benefits, but let's go ahead and go down through the list. Okay, so number one, just announced within the last 24 or 48 hours that everybody's getting a 2.8% COLA, including spouses. So people always ask, well, the 2.8%, that's for retirement benefits, but I'm receiving spouse benefits or divorce spouse benefits or disabled widows benefits. Does that apply to me? Yes. When they come out with the determination for the COLA, then once that comes around, January, your January check, everybody's benefit amount will increase by 2.8%. They haven't come out with the Medicare Part B. If the Medicare Part B is more of an increase than the COLA, they'll make an adjustment on that. It's called the hold harmless provision, that you won't lose money. You'll lose money for inflation. But anyway, all right. So what about WEP GPO? So this is for about 3 or 4 million people out there. If you or your spouse, divorce spouse, deceased spouse, whatever the case may be, if they worked for a non-covered entity, now what does that mean? That means if you or they worked for a city, state, local, federal government that did not pay into Social Security, the Social Security Fairness Act, which I would argue is not fair, but anyway, we won't go there, applies to you, and you just might be able to get benefits. So if you were married to someone for 10 years, and we'll get into the eligibility requirements, if you were married to someone, they passed away, and you're like, well, I checked one time and you weren't eligible for benefits because they worked in this non-covered entity, and therefore I wasn't eligible for benefits, I would check again just to make sure. If you got any specific questions on that, make sure you ask, because there's tons of permutations on that particular program. Okay, another thing that's going to apply to everybody starting 2026 is the earnings limit. So the new numbers for next year came out, and let's go ahead and pull up the new numbers for next year. The tax is obviously the same, but the earnings limit change. So this year it's $23,400. And yes, this does apply if you're receiving spouse benefits, divorce spouse benefits, surviving spouse benefits for everybody, if you're under your full retirement age. So if you're a surviving spouse, widow, widower, whatever you want to call it, Social Security calls it surviving spouse, or a divorced spouse or whatever, and you're under your full retirement age and receiving benefits, you have to stay under the annual earnings limit. And this year it's $23,400. Next year it's going to be $24,480. So anything over that, they hold back $1 for every $2 you go over. And then the year you turn your full retirement age, it goes up to about $65,000 for next year. Let me move that up a little bit. And then once you hit your full retirement age, you can go back to making $1 billion a month, and it doesn't affect your benefits negatively at all. Okay. So that applies to everybody, again, under your full retirement age. Okay, let's go through all the eligibility requirements. So if you're currently married, you are potentially eligible for benefits on that person's record. And you can get up to 50%. You get 50% if you're your full retirement age. So it doesn't matter necessarily how old they are, but they have to be receiving benefits. So if you're currently married, you have to file for benefits on your own record, even if you're not insured, even if you're not eligible for $0, you still have to go through the process of filing for benefits on your own record, and then you file for benefits on your current spouse, but they have to be receiving benefits. There's an old system that went away in 2016 where you could kind of play around with that, but you can't do that anymore. You both have to be receiving benefits for spouse benefits to begin, and you get up to 50%. And one of the things that a lot of people miss out there is they say, oh, I didn't know. It looks like someone already said that they didn't know that they could get benefits. One of the things that people mess up is they look at the wrong numbers. Because in order to get spouse benefits, your benefit amount has to be less than half of your spouse who you want to get benefits off of. People look at their check. Don't look at your check. That's called your MBA, your monthly benefit amount. That's what Social Security calls it. You have to look at your PIA, the primary insurance amount. What's that? That's the amount you would have received at your full retirement age, you and your spouse, divorced spouse, whoever. So that's the number Social Security looks at. So they say, is your PIA, the amount you would have received at full retirement age, less than half of the spouse's? If so, you can get the difference up to 50%. So don't look at what your check is, because that's not the number they look at, because you could have been receiving benefits early and your spouse could receive benefits, delayed. You could be getting Medicare taken out or whatever the case may be. So don't look at that. Look at the PIA. If you don't know what the PIA is, you can go online, set up a My Social Security account. You can look in there. It doesn't list it as PIA. It just says at your full retirement age, you would receive X amount of money. And if it doesn't say that, you can't get in. Just call Social Security with your spouse there and say, here's my information. How much is my PIA? How much is this gal's PIA? And they'll say, oh, well, looks like you can get spouse benefits, and then file that application. Remember, even if you're not insured on your own record, you can get spouse benefits. A lot of people say, well, I can't get spouse benefits, divorce spouse benefits, or surviving divorce spouse benefit, any of that stuff, because I never paid into Social Security. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. If you were to stay at home mom, pa, whatever the case may be, if you're eligible for benefits on another person's record, it doesn't matter whether you're eligible for benefits on your own. Doesn't know. Same thing with Medicare. If you're never paid into Social Security because you stayed at home, that's fine. You can still get Medicare from someone else's record. But in terms of the spouse and a current spouse, in terms of the current spouse, they have to be receiving benefits. There's a little interesting thing there called the independently entitled divorce spouse, IEDS, which we'll get to here in a little bit. So you can get benefits from that person's record, even if you're not insured on your own, and you can get Medicare from that person's record, even if you're not insured on your own. Medicare begins at 65 years old. But again, current spouse, that person has to be receiving benefits. So, and even if, here's a difficult one. If you are 65, and when you're 65, you have to file for Medicare, unless you have current health insurance from work, yours or your spouse's, or that employer has 20 or more employees. And there's people out there that, okay, I'm 65, but I'm not insured, so I don't have to get it, right? No, you still have to get it. And it's like, well, okay, you said I can get it on my spouse's record, but my spouse is younger, 62, and he or she is not going to file for benefits for a few years. Then, unfortunately, you're going to have to sign up for Part A, Part B if you don't have health insurance from work, yours or your spouse's, and you'll have to pay for it. And you're like, okay, that's no problem. Everybody pays for Part B. You'll also have to pay for Part A. Yeah, and that's, quite a bit of money. So there's that. So if you got any questions on that, make sure you reach out. You can reach out to Chapter. They can help you out as well. All right, divorce spouse benefits. So divorce spouse benefits. And here's one thing that a lot of people mess up is they say, number one, you had to be married to that person for 10 years or longer. 10 years. There's exceptions to the exceptions on all things Social Security, but not to this one. People come in here all the time. Well, I was 9 years, 9 months, and 11 months, and 29 days, and 1 day short. And yeah, no, has to be 10 years. Has to be 10 years. And unfortunately, some divorce lawyers and whoever kind of know that, and they say, hey, let's make sure we get this in so it's under the 10 years, even though it doesn't affect them at all. So this is another thing. So the divorce decrees. If your divorce decree says that you can't get benefits, you can't get Social Security benefits, you wrote that and you signed that in the divorce decree, that's okay, I won't get your Social Security benefits. Social Security doesn't care. You can't give away those rights. Nobody can take those rights away from you. Those are your rights. So if it says in your divorce decree that you can't get Social Security, it's worth nothing. When you file for Social Security divorce spouse benefits, the Social Security employee, I've done this millions of times, they ask for your marriage certificate and your divorce decree. And they only look at 6 things. Names, when you were, the 2 names, when you were married, the 2 names, plaintiff, defendant, and when you were divorced. That's it. They don't look at anything else in the divorce decree. They only look at those 6 things. So anything on there on page 25 about you giving up your rights to Social Security, yeah, it might matter somewhere else. They might say, well, if you get Social Security, we're going to take alimony away or something like that. But you can't give away your Social Security rights. Okay. So we see people trying to make that trick, do that trick all the time. Remember, divorce spouse benefits. We had someone here that was losing about $1,000 a month for years because she thought she was married to someone earlier in her life, and then she got remarried. And she says, well, because I got remarried, that negates that first one, so I can't get any benefits off that first one. Incorrect. Because the second marriage and the third marriage or the fourth marriage or fifth marriage, or whatever the case may be, that's ended. As long as it's ended, then you can get benefits. So when you go into Social Security and say, hey, I want to file for divorce spouse benefits, and they'll say, okay, how many of those were you married to for 10 years or longer? If you say 4, then they'll say, okay, all right, let's go through all 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, and we'll see which one is the highest benefit for you. Ages and all that kind of stuff. And they say, oh, it looks like number 3 is the winner, so we're going to go ahead and file for benefits on number 3. I'll get into the future here. One of the key things here that a lot of people mess up. All right, so remarriage doesn't matter. And remember, disability. If you're receiving disability benefits, you can and receive other benefits. So if you're receiving Social Security disability insurance or SSI and you're eligible for any other benefits, you can. If you're on SSI, you have to, but you can collect benefits from that other person, and it doesn't affect your SSDI. So if you're receiving disability benefits, let's stick to SSDI, Social Security Disability Insurance, and you're receiving $1,000 a month, and you're saying, okay, I'm eligible for spouse benefits or divorce spouse benefits or surviving divorce spouse benefits or surviving spouse benefits, whatever the case may be, and it's another $400, $500, $600 a month, I'd really like that. But because I'm only 62 years old, if I switch to those spouse benefits, I'll lose my disability. And the most important thing, I'll lose my Medicare. 100% incorrect. You will continue to get your disability benefits. And because you have disability, once you're on disability for 24 months, your Medicare starts, even if you're 50 years old or 49 years old or 60 years old. And you continue to get your Medicare. And then when you're eligible for other benefits, what happens is they just add that on top of your disability. So you're receiving Medicare, Social Security disability insurance, and any type of whatever spouse benefits. And then if your benefits are low enough, you can receive Medicaid, and Medicaid might be able to pay for your Part B premium, and you can receive the low-income subsidy, the extra help with prescription drugs, and all kinds of other things that, so many people lose benefits because they don't get everything that they're eligible for, they paid for all those decades. All right. So what about IEDS, Independently Entitled Divorced Spouse Benefits? Those are if you're divorced and your ex is at least 62 years old, but they haven't started benefits yet. Doesn't matter. That is where the independently entitled thing comes in. So you have to start benefits on your own record. So you have to be like 62 years old. You start benefits on your own record. And then if you're eligible for divorce spouse benefits, yet you were married to that person for 10 years or longer, and you're like, well, they haven't received benefits yet. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. As long as that person is 62 and then the calculations work out correctly that your full benefit amount is less than half of that person's, then you can collect benefits. It's called independently entitled divorced spouse benefits. It's a mouthful. Be careful on that one because when you go to the Social Security Administration, unfortunately, the people at the front window are called CSR, Customer Service Representatives, and they are generalists. They are not what's called a Title II claim specialist, Title II of the Social Security Act, which I was before I became a manager. And sometimes they send people away. I've sent, over the last year, I've been doing this live Q&A, I've sent people down and says, yeah, go down to the Social Security Administration and tell them you need to file a claim for independently entitled divorced spouse. Doesn't matter if your ex is already receiving benefits or not. And they go down there and then they come back the next day and they say, no, they said you're an idiot, Ed. Well, probably talked to my wife anyway, but anyway. And they said you can't do that because the ex has to be receiving benefits. And so that's why on my website, mygovexpert.com, if you click on the Social Security, you click on family, it goes into family benefits there, and you click on independent divorced, and then I have the Social Security reference down there. One of the only differences, so there's the reference, so you can print that off, and that way when you go down to the local office and get those benefits and they say, no, your ex has to be receiving benefits, you just throw that, or you don't throw it, you politely pass it through the window, and they'll get you all set up. And then make sure you tell that office they need to do training on that particular policy. One of the things about the independently entitled divorce spouse benefits is you do have to be divorced for 2 years from that person. And that's the only thing. People think, people think the 2-year divorce is for everything. No. Only for independently entitled divorce spouse benefits. So again, that is for the exes who have not restarted their benefits yet. So they're 62 years old and they're wanting to wait till they're 67 or 70, or because they don't need the money, or sometimes just to spite you. And they say, well, if I don't start my benefits, you can't get benefits from my record. And no, you can still get benefits in your record, buddy. Sorry. And here's another one. The ex's new family. Sometimes I win this battle. Most of the times I win this battle, but sometimes I lose it. And I say, hey, you're eligible for benefits on your ex's record. Oh, no, I don't want to file because it'll affect their record and they'll know about it and it'll, reduce their benefits for their new children and new spouse. And no, it won't do any of that. They won't know about it. It won't affect their benefits or their new spouse or their kids, new kids, any of that won't affect those benefits whatsoever. And people say, oh, okay, in that case, I'll go ahead and file. But there's sometimes people say, I don't want anything from that person. I don't care if it affects them. I don't want anything. And it's like, well, it's not really from that person. It's, that person paid FICA and their money is sitting in Washington somewhere to, chock full of canned nuts out in the back of the White House or something. Maybe that's what they're digging up over there. But that's your money just sitting there. Has nothing to do with them anymore. That's your money. And most of the times I win that battle, but sometimes people say, I don't care. I still, it's another $100, $500, $1,000 a month, but it has some type of relation to that person and I don't want it. So yeah, you can't win them all. All right, surviving spouse benefits. Surviving spouse benefits, it's not 62 with spouse benefits, current spouse benefits, divorce spouse benefits, independently entitled divorce spouse benefits at 62. Get a lot of people that wait 2 years and they lose 2 years of benefits. Surviving spouse benefits, you can start those at 60 years old. And with everything, anytime you start benefits from Social Security early, it's reduced, except for like disability benefits or disabled widows benefits, which we'll get to here in a second. So surviving spouse benefits, you can start at 60 years old and you can get up to 100% of that person's record. So there's a thing called auto convert. If you are receiving spouse benefits, divorce spouse benefits on somebody else's record, and that person is still out there alive and kicking, you're receiving, let's say, 50%. And then that person passes away, then your benefits are automatically converted to, depends on your age. If you're your full retirement age, it's automatically switched to 100%. If you're not, a little technical thing, if you're under your full retirement age, you can actually not switch. And let's talk about this. Remember what I said is if you're going to file for benefits from a spouse, you have to file for benefits on your own record. Okay. Surviving spouse doesn't apply to that. So here's the decision people make. Let's say someone's 62 years old and they're eligible for benefits on their own record. And they're also eligible for benefits as a surviving spouse, widower, again, same thing. They can choose. They can say, I'll go ahead and start benefits as a surviving spouse, even though it's less right now. Because if I don't touch my own benefits will continue to increase all the way until you're 70 years old. So after your full retirement age, you get what's called delayed retirement credits, 8% added on every year. So you can wait till you're 70 years old. Don't wait past that. Don't wait past that. So you get surviving benefits, and then you just let yours continue to increase. And then any time between that and you hit 70 years old, you say, well, okay, now it's $100 more. I'll wait till next year. $200 more. I'll wait a little bit longer. $300. Oh, okay, I think that's the trick. I'll go ahead and switch over to your own record. So, and you can also do the opposite. If you can go ahead and start benefits on your own record and then switch over to surviving spouse benefits. Don't wait till 70 on that one because they don't increase past your full retirement age. So your surviving spouse benefits max out based on your age when you hit your full retirement age. So you can choose either one on those. And then there's another thing called disabled widows benefits. So disabled widows benefits is a surviving spouse. You had for surviving spouses, the eligibility, you had to be married not 10 years unless it was divorce. If it was a surviving divorced spouse benefits, then you had to be married to that person for 10 years. If you were married to that person when they passed away, then you just had to be married to that person for at least 9 months. That's what we had this young lady a couple of days ago that we found an extra $1,000 a month for. She was only married to the person for 6 years. She thought she couldn't get it because only married 6 years, but she was actually married to that person when they passed away. And then she got remarried and she thought she couldn't get it was because it was 10 years and she couldn't get it because she got remarried, and both of those things are incorrect because she's now single. And she went down to Social Security and they say, yep, extra $1,000 a month every single month. So please like, subscribe, share, and do all that stuff so more people get this information. Okay, disabled widow benefits you can get starting 50 years old. And you just have to be disabled. And your disability has to start within 7 years of that person's passing. So between 50 and 59, if you're disabled, you can get disabled widows benefits. And the amount is 71.5% of that person's full benefit amount. So disabled widows benefits, and you have to go through the whole disability process. So from 50 to 59, disabled widows benefits. Once you hit 60, then you don't have to be disabled. You just get regular surviving spouse benefits. Okay. All right. Not eligible today, in the future. Here's what a lot of people mess up on is they go to Social Security or they talk to as we used to call them, the Marine Corps, a barracks lawyer, which is always a terrible, terrible idea. And they hear that, okay, you're not eligible for benefits today. So you're filing for spouse benefits, divorce spouse benefits, whatever the case may be. And they say, oh, no, sorry, you're not eligible. And people think, okay, I'm not eligible forever. No, maybe in that particular time, you weren't eligible because that person hadn't filed yet and you weren't married, you weren't divorced for 2 years. or that person is under 62 years old, or the benefit amount. What usually often happens is they say, well, you're not eligible for benefits on that person's record because your benefit amount is not less than half of that person's benefit amount. And remember, the only time that applies is if that person is still out there alive and kicking. So people say, I went to Social Security 5 years ago and they said I'm not eligible for spouse benefits. Talk to those people and ask, okay, is that person still out there? I don't know. Oh no, that person passed. Well, you need to call the Social Security Administration right now, because it's no longer 50%. You can get up to 100%. So there's way, way too many people out there losing money because they don't know that. They didn't know the situation changed. Or your ex's benefit amount or your current spouse's benefit amount was this amount, but they kept working and therefore their benefit amount increased, and now you are eligible. So there's a lot of things. And then one last thing, before I get into husband and wife, delayed retirement credits. You cannot get delayed retirement credits from a spouse. So delayed retirement credits is if you're working and you start your benefits after your full retirement, or even if you're not working, it doesn't matter. If you start your Social Security benefits after your full retirement age, 68, 69, 70, every year you wait, Social Security increases your benefit amount by 8%. So if your full benefit amount at 67, let's say your full retirement age is $1,000, if you wait until 70, you're going to get $1,240. But if a spouse is entitled to benefits on your record, it's not going to be the $1,240. It'll be the $1,000 that they'll look at, unless you pass away. Surviving spouses can get those delayed retirement credits. Regular spouses cannot. So, and again, 1,000 permutations on all this. So if you got any questions, make sure you ask them there. Join my live Q&A anytime. I do them pretty much every day, 3 o'clock West Coast time, 6 o'clock East Coast time. And okay. One final cautionary tale for those people out there that have a business, husband and wife that have a business. Your tax accountant is for taxes. Quite often I have found that they don't know Social Security. So if you and your spouse have a business, you just have to be careful. Cautionary tale. Quite often, tax accountants, they put all of the earnings under one Social Security number. And that's fine, for tax purposes, whatever. But they also put all the Social Security FICA tax under one Social Security number. And which is fine if you're definitely going to be married forever. You're never going to get a divorce. But what happens is, see a lot of divorced spouses and they reach 62 and they go to file for Social Security because they need that money. And it's like, sorry, you never paid into Social Security. What do you mean? My husband had a business for 30 years and we made millions of dollars or something. Yeah, but all of that went under your spouse. The accountant didn't put any of that under you. And then, obviously once you can file for, divorce spouse benefits and stuff like that. But depending on the age, sometimes people miss out on that. So just be careful. Just, make sure you're doing that correctly. All right. So let's get into some live questions here. Mary, what's up, Mary? I guess I'm way past getting any spousal benefits. I've been retired since 2006, 62. My husband retired at his full retirement age, still here. I had no idea at the time about this. No, there is no statute of limitations. Call Social Security if you're eligible for benefits, and doesn't matter how old you are. Again, it's dependent on, how much your full benefit amount and how much that person's full benefit amount. But yes, and then try every way possible. It's called protective filing. So if you called them, let's say if you called Social Security last year and you asked about that and they give you incorrect information, then you go file now and say, hey, by the way, I called last year and y'all gave me incorrect information or didn't tell me the whole story, yada, yada, yada. I want that 1 year of back pay or 2 years of back pay or 3 years of back pay. Always fight for the extra back pay. But Yeah, if the calculations work out correctly, then absolutely. And Mary, even if, let's say, oh yeah, we called and it was only $1 more because of the way the benefit is. Okay. And you're like, I don't want to waste a bunch of time on $1. Reality, I would go ahead and do it, because if something happened to your husband, you are on his record, or vice versa. It doesn't matter whichever one. But if the spouse is on that person's record, if anything should happen to that person, remember I said it auto converts. So at that terrible time in your life, when you've got all these other worries, you don't need to worry about going down and filing a claim for surviving spouse benefits. It automatically switches. Again, if you're full retirement age, it automatically switches from regular spouse benefits to surviving spouse benefits. And then they also kick out that embarrassingly low the lump sum death payment, which is crazy. It's only $255. That's why I partnered up with the DIG agency. So if you want to protect your loved ones, if anything happens, reach out to them. They can see if they can give you a free quote for final expense burial insurance. And yes, they do support this channel and this live Q&A. So definitely reach out to them. All right, let's see what else here. Paul, what's up, Paul? How does this work when a spouse claims benefits on her husband's plan? Does this take away from some of those benefits? Just curious. Absolutely no way, shape, or form. And could you imagine? Could you imagine? Because, I've taken claims from people and they were married three times. Each one was 10 years. And there are 3 spouses, divorced spouses, on that person's record. Could you imagine if those, when a 4th one came on, everybody else's benefits was reduced? Or when the 3rd one came on, the first 2 were reduced? Could you imagine what would happen? It's like, oh yeah, it would not be good. So yeah, one does not affect the other at all. So let's see, trying to find some new people here. I've got a bunch of video questions as well. I'll get into some video questions. Wanda, I don't think I've seen Wanda here before. What's up, Wanda? Ed, I am 60 and I'm on disability and Medicare now. My husband will be 65 in December. He is going to see about getting his Medicare, but not, and then it cut off there. Yeah, if you're on disability, you're on Medicare now, you're 60. Remember, when you are 62, if he is on benefits at that time, if he's receiving a Social Security check and you're 62, if your benefit amount is less than half of his, then you can file for spouse benefits. And again, it doesn't affect your disability benefits. One just offsets the other, and it doesn't affect your Medicare. So vice versa. So yeah, once he receives 65, if he doesn't have creditable coverage, that means he has health insurance from current work, not a retirement plan, but actual current work, and that employer has 20 more employees, then he doesn't have to sign up for Part A, Part B if he doesn't want to. A lot of people sign up for Part A because it's, 0 premium anyway. But one of the things, since we are in the middle of the annual enrollment period, remember, if you're on Medicare, you definitely need to check your plan for 2026. Big changes out there for 2026. And you can reach out to our partner, whoever. It doesn't matter who you reach out to. You should really, really check your Medicare plan, your Medicare Advantage plan. If you have a Medicare supplement plan, then usually good, unless you want to compare prices and get a cheaper plan if you're eligible to get it to a cheaper plan. But Medicare Advantage, it just takes persistence. You have to keep up on those every year. You have to review them every year. I wish there was an alternative, but this is the system we have. I think was it John Oliver on Last Week Tonight did a big thing about Medicare Advantage, and he's 100% right across the board. But in terms of how the whole system is not the greatest, but this is what these are the cards we're dealt with. So you just have to be persistent and keep up with it. And if you're looking for a plan, have your current plan so you can compare it, any providers, your prescriptions, your pharmacy, if you want to keep a particular pharmacy, your priorities, more dental, more vision, cheap, the least amount for, hospital, the prices you need to check out. So between October 15th and December 7th. You can change your plan, and your new plan will take effect January 1st. So you can reach out to chapter or whoever. Terracotta. I tried to call chapter, but I'm still working on briefs, and I'm so overwhelmed I cried today. I just need to finish it. It's almost done. Don't worry, Terracotta, you have until December 7th. Don't sweat it. And they are open 7 days a week. So whenever you get a chance, just give them a call. And remember, with anybody I recommend, if they don't treat you right, please let me know. They're doing a phenomenal job. I think we're going to have Ari from chapter is going to be here in a couple of days. Tomorrow, I'm going to be doing on food stamps, SNAP. I've put out a post out there. I want people to let me know what's going on. They got any food banks in their particular area. So tomorrow, we'll talk about what's going on with SNAP. It looks like people are going to be losing their food stamps, EBT, SNAP benefits for November. Got a Sophie's Choice type of situation here. Yeah, we're going to see if we can try to navigate this nightmare for as many people as we possibly can. So, Hakeem, new person. I don't think I recognize you. I enroll in Medicare Advantage with a prescription. Do I need Part D? No, that is Part D. Yeah. Most Medicare Advantage plans have Part D, the prescription drug plan, embedded in them. They're called MAPDs, Medicare Advantage Part D. So you're good. You have Part D in there. The only time you need a standalone Part D is if you get a Medicare supplement plan. And that's why I agree with, John Oliver. I always recommend checking out Medicare supplements first, because you keep original Medicare, and then you get a supplement to cover the gaps of original Medicare. Not all the gaps, but most of the gaps. But unfortunately, a lot of people just can't afford the monthly premium for a Medicare supplement, so they go to it in Medicare Advantage. And in this day and age, that's all there is. It just takes a lot more persistence and someone to help you navigate the bureaucracy. Yeah, and that's unfortunately what we have to deal with. Lady Bird, what's up, Lady Bird? Chapter helped me with my IRA questions. Wow, they are great. I don't know what I would do without you guys. Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's I'm here to help you with Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, food stamps, Medicare Part A, Part B. But in terms of the plans, they're all different in every area in the country. So yeah, that's why we reached out to chapter to help you on that. Can your foreign spouse get DS benefits, disabled spouse benefits, divorce spouse benefits? Yeah. They just, if they're in this country, they have to be in the country legally. There are some for surviving spouse, there's some totalization agreements with some particular countries that are different. But yeah, absolutely. Doesn't matter. If they're in the country, got their green card, U.S. citizenship, whatever the case may be, absolutely no problem whatsoever. Not fair for us that started working at 172 quarters paid in, and I'm only 60. I'll never see 60. Oh no, come on, Dar. You're going to be around here. We're both going to be around here, and I'm going to be sitting here, right here, for the next 30 or 40 years, and you're going to be right here with me. So, and let's see. I was going to say something. Oh, remember, but I think what Dar is probably talking about is the fact that, yes, because of our politicians that haven't done anything for the last 40 years, the Social Security Trust Fund is running out of money. And it's savings. That's what happens with savings. When you dip into savings, eventually runs out. You're still going to get your Social Security check. Social Security is not going bankrupt. I did a video yesterday. I re-edited it and made it into a shorter video today. But Social Security is not going bankrupt. They just can't pay the full amount. They're going to be 23% short in 88 more checks because politicians refuse to do anything. So that's why we need to force politicians to do something. Request them politely. Sorry. I was raised by a World War II Marine, so therefore you are a Marine. Yeah, I've got a video question from a former Marine wife, or actually a current Marine wife. So anytime you live with a Marine, unfortunately, yeah, you didn't go to boot camp, but you're pretty close. Sorry, my son. I was raised by a World War II Marine and someone that this day would be here. Now look where at. This is not a drill, my friends. Sorry to be a bummer. Yeah. Yeah, this is not a drill. Exactly. We have come at a crossroads and we need to start doing something. Rick and my family, the Marines, Navy. My oldest son was National Guard. Yep, I've got it all going all the way back to the Revolutionary War. I live abroad. Can my foreign... Oh, yes. Again, okay, so you live abroad. So if your foreign spouse does not have legal status in the United States, doesn't have a green card or anything like that, then far, far more difficult. There are exceptions based on what type of benefits you're talking about and the particular country. There are a very, very limited amount of countries that have a totalization agreement with the United States. Linda, I retired from the federal government 30 September, age 65. My husband passed away February 2024. Should I use my husband's Social Security until I'm 67? I called Social Security. They said I can, but not until January 2026. You're 60. Yeah, I don't see why. Okay, I bet you I know why. They made a mistake. Probably they said you can't start until January 2026 because you're of age, you're at least 60, 62, so that's not an issue. But probably because you work for the government, or you worked and you made over $23,400. And that means they told you incorrect information. Okay, so you probably talked to somebody on the phone, and again, the Social Security staffing is terrible, and that's the way politicians want it. They want to, yeah, their biggest weapon right now is the bureaucracy. So what might be incorrect here is they're saying, okay, you can't start until January 2026 because you already made too much money this year, which has no relevance whatsoever. Because you can see the retirement. So if you made over $23,400, they're saying, oh, you already made over that, so you can't. You have to start January 2026. Doesn't matter. Remember, see this other number down here? That's called the monthly earnings limit. So you already stopped working, so you can start benefits the first month you earn under $1,950 for this year, 2025. So you stopped working September, so you can start your benefits in October if you want. As long as your earned income, it doesn't count your pension, your OPM pension or 401k withdrawals or anything like that. It's only earned income, working wages, net income from business. As long as you earned under $1,950 a month, October, and then continue November, December, you can start your benefits in October. So if you call them up and you don't get an appointment until November to file for that, then tell them, hey, I called y'all in October and I want my October check too. So I'm thinking they told you the incorrect information. So Donna, Dr. Ed, ineligible to file in November 2026 when I turned 60 for my deceased divorced spouse benefits because he never was able to file before his death. That will I be eligible? Yeah, that has no relevance whether he filed. Yeah, it doesn't matter. If he never filed, that actually is good for you because it doesn't reduce his benefit that you're beginning on. Yeah, so ineligible file November when I turned 60 for because he was never able to file. Yep, again, no relevance whatsoever. If you're talking about he was never able to file taxes, he never paid into it. Okay, I don't think that's what you mean. But no relevance whatsoever. So it's actually, again, better for you because your benefit amount as a surviving spouse is based on your age. So if you start at 60, you're going to get the full reduction because you're starting the very earliest. And then it is also based on the deceased spouse's record. Basically, if they, again, as I mentioned, if they waited till 70 to start their benefits, then you'll get those delayed retirement credits. If they started early, that affects you. But because your husband never filed for benefits, they will use his full retirement age. They will assume he was going to wait till his full retirement age, so they'll use his full retirement age amount to calculate your benefits. So Vegas rocks. It used to. I don't know what's going on with them nowadays, right? Survivor benefits. Does a pension from late spouse count as income? Nope, not at all. Only work. Only work. So pension doesn't affect benefits whatsoever. Social Security benefits. Big Pond Homestead. I started receiving disabled widows benefits at 59. I'm turning 61, still receiving disabled widow benefits. Is that normal? Yep, absolutely. Once you're getting disabled widows benefits, DWB, then you'll receive that as long as you're disabled. So you just keep on keeping on. Remember, if, once you turn 62, if your benefits on your own record are more, then you might switch over at that time. So, and then also, once you hit your full retirement age, with everything on disability, if you're receiving just regular Social Security benefits, disability benefits on your own record, or disabled widows benefits, once you hit your full retirement age, you're no longer receiving disability benefits. You might still be disabled, sure you are, but you're not receiving disability benefits. You're receiving just regular retirement benefits. In your case, you'll just be receiving regular, surviving spouse benefits, not based on disability. So that means doesn't matter how much you can work, not relevant, and they get no more of those CDRs, those continuing disability reviews, not an issue. And my ex's Social Security doesn't qualify me to get extra Social Security. Mine is not less than half of his. If he passes before me, could I get his higher amount? Absolutely. So again, that's what I mentioned is a lot of people make that mistake. Let me bring up my little slide here. That future thing, there's a lot of people, and you're lucky because you know this now. A lot of people says, well, I'm not eligible. I was told I wasn't eligible for benefits. And they don't know that situation can change in the future. And there's people out there that are divorced and they check one time and they were told, oh yeah, no, that person is still out there somewhere. Sounds like you don't know where that person is, but they're still out there alive and kicking. And because of the way the benefits are calculated, you're not eligible for benefits on their record because your benefit is not less than half. If anything should ever happen to that person, then it goes up to 100% and you just might be eligible for benefits at that time. And people say, well, how do I know if they pass away? I don't have any connection with that. We don't have kids that talk or anything like that. So I never know. So in that case, I would call Social Security about every 6 months and say, diplomatically, I guess, and say, yeah, I like to file for surviving spouse benefits on my ex's record. And if you don't, one of the things I should add, if you don't know your ex's Social Security number, no problem. You just tell them the person's name, their age, where their date of birth, if you know it, and where they were born, city and state where they were born, and Social Security can find it. I've never not been able to find a record. So you just call up every 6 months and say, yeah, I want to file for surviving spouse benefits on that person's record. And they'll say, no, you're not eligible because they're still alive and kicking. You'll say, okay, all right, thanks very much. I'll talk to you in 6 months. So that's how you check. Let's see. First hubby living, divorced, married over 10 years, second hubby passed. You only get Social Security from second, 80 years old. No, you can get Social Security from both. If you're now single, you're eligible for benefits on both. I get what you mean, Barbara, that probably you always get the higher benefit amount. Social Security always wants to give you the higher benefit amount. And because the second hubby passed, then that's probably the higher benefit amount because it's up to 100%, but maybe it's not. So you can get from the first hubby. And then in terms of remarry, if you're on spouse benefits and you get remarried, those benefits might cease. There's exceptions on there. Always notify Social Security if you get remarried, if you're receiving benefits on a previous person's record. If you're receiving surviving spouse benefits, you can remarry after 60 and continue to get those benefits. They are not stopped. There's a law that was passed a long time ago. They actually called it the living in sin legislation. It's basically you had a lot of people that lost their first spouse, and then they were lonely for a long time, and then they found someone after 60 or later in life, and they remarried that person, or they wanted to remarry that person, but because the way the law was written before, if they remarried, their Social Security would stop. So this was law. They were living in sin. So that's what the Congress, pretty much said. So they said, yeah, we want people, if they want to get married and live out the rest of their life with their new loved one, then more power to them. So that's when they changed the law that said you can remarry after 60 years old. So see, Congress sometimes does listen. So we just need to contact them more often and don't let them trick us with all of the BS, misinformation. I did a video, send it out today on that one. So if you call a politician and say, hey, we need to stop the cuts that are going to be happening here a few years, and if they say something stupid, give you the same BS that they give you all the time, you'll be prepared, and you say, that's not correct. You know what you're doing. Retired Cat 2024. Husband signed up for Part A and took about 2 days to get approval. Part B the next month, and it took about the same. Did all online, and he's not on Social Security. We use local insurance company for ourselves. Perfect. Awesome. Good deal. Yeah, so you did it all online. You probably, yes, some people, if you sign up for Part A, some people do it even though they have health insurance from work, because again, it's zero premium and it might cover some of the other gaps of your health insurance from work. But if you have health insurance from work and again, current work, 20 more employees, you don't have to sign up for Part B. And then in the future, if you go to sign up for Part B, then let's find my website here. Then you just need to fill out a couple of forms. And so this is the enrollment period. So the initial enrollment period when you turn 65 years old is you have 3 months before you turn 65, your 65th birthday, and then 3 months after. So you have a 7th month initial enrollment period to go ahead and sign up for Part A and Part B to avoid the penalties. And then if you decide not to sign up for Part B because you have health insurance and then you wait 5 years, you're not going to get penalized if you have health insurance from current work and 20 more employees. And at that time, you just fill out a couple of forms. One of those you take down to your employer, and your employer verifies that you did have health insurance from work since you turned 65, since you were first eligible. And you've got links. I've got links on my website here. You just go into the website, click on Medicare, click on enrollment periods, and it's 2 forms, the 40B and the 564. So if you don't want to click on my link, just Google it or go to SSA.gov or Medicare.gov and download the forms there. So that's what this young lady did. So, all right, let's see. If I collect mine at 65, FRA is 66 and 10 months. Oh, Bella, yes, Bella became a member again, silver. I've got a bunch of people becoming members to our YouTube channel. You guys are awesome. I appreciate it. Supports the website and all the free stuff we've got. BDR, if I collect mine at 65, and welcome back from the hospital, Bella. It sounds like you're doing better. We missed you. If I collect mine at 65 and then collect on ex-spouses when I'm beyond my FRA, is the new amount based on when I started to collect on mine or when I collect as an ex-spouse? Thank you, BDR. Excellent, excellent question. It's based on your age. So if you start collecting your benefits early, yours is reduced. But if you start collecting spouse benefits, it's based on how old you are at that time. But this is kind of a difficult one. I think I have a little chart here that kind of shows you a little bit of the calculations. Okay. So for spouse benefits, so let's say your spouse, let me take this out here. Your spouse's full benefit amount is $3,000 and your benefit amount is $1,500. Then what happens is, your getting you get your $1,000 plus you get another $500 because half of 3,000 is 1,500. So you get $1,500. Okay. You get exactly half of the $3,000. But if you file reduced, okay, if you file reduced and your benefit amount is $1,000, but you file reduced so you get $200 less, you're still only going to get $500 from your spouse. It's kind of weird, but so basically people think, well, if I file for benefits early, mine will be reduced. Yes, that is correct. But when I file for spouse benefits, I'll get 50% of that, so it won't make a difference. No, your benefits are still going to be reduced. So under this situation, if you file for benefits at your full retirement age, and then you file for benefits, from your spouse and your full retirement age, you'll get the full $1,500, $1,000 on your own, and the difference $500. So you get $1,500. If yours is reduced, you're only going to get $1,300. Yes, you're going to get the 50%, but yeah, it's going to be reduced. So it's kind of a weird thingy, but that is the reality. Yeah. Letitia, my husband was getting his full Social Security check. He passed away 2024. I was 65 at the time. I went at the office and they said I wasn't eligible to collect on his benefits. Yeah, so there could be, he passed away. Were you married when he passed away? If you were married at least 9 months at that time, then you're eligible in terms of length of marriage. Did you remarry, before 60? Is your benefit amount higher than his benefit amount? And then here is one advanced trick you can do. Is if you're approaching your full retirement age, at your full retirement age and beyond, you can suspend your benefits and get what's called voluntary delayed retirement credits. So let's say you're receiving benefits for a while, and then you approach your full retirement age. You can call Social Security and say, I want to suspend my benefits because I want to get this thing called voluntary delayed retirement credits where your benefit increases. And then you go file for survivor benefits. And get those benefits while your benefits increase. So yeah, until they change the law on that one, you're still able to do it. It's kind of advanced. You have to fight a little bit to get that one because not a lot of people do it. It doesn't apply to a lot of people and people don't know about it. So if you go to a local office and try to do that, they'll probably fight you. I don't see where the Medicare cost increase has been posted. Yeah, it hasn't been posted yet. All the other numbers have been posted. Let me see. Yeah, all the other numbers, the tax rates, the maximum taxable earnings went to 184,000, quarters of coverage increased, the earnings limits, substantial gainful activity for those people on disability, SSI resource limit never changes. And then averages have changed. Yeah, so that all came out. And then obviously that very exciting 2.8% COLA came out. But the Medicare stuff, as of, before I started the live Q&A today, I checked and it's not out yet. So John Oliver did a show on the Advantage Plan this week. It's on YouTube. Yeah, he did a good job. Yeah, I agree with everything he said. Except for one thing, the SHIP. He says, don't call the call centers, which I agree. Most of those call centers, they're still there, but they're not as, the call centers are, those are the people that harass you all the time. And, with the spokesmen, the starship captains and the football players and stuff like that. Those are the people that call you up, and they're not supposed to be calling you up, but they call you up anyway because they buy those leads. And yeah, it's terrible. And they were doing for a long time, they were doing this bait and switch type thing. Allegedly, they've got big lawyers, so where they were doing these national commercials and they were saying, hey, there's a $1,000, gift card or a grocery card, over the counter card out there, $12,000 a year, And it's like, call us up. And you call them up and they say, well, do you live in this one zip code in East Texas? No, I don't. Okay, well, it only applies to that one. So they were finding, and those grocery cards, the over-the-counter cards do exist. They are a real thing. But it really depends on your particular area and what type of Medicare Advantage plan you have. And they were just advertising it to everybody, getting people to call. And then once you call them, they will never let you go. They will just harass you and harass you and harass you. So Chapter is different. They're not a call center like that. If you tell me, if Ann says, hey, Ed, tell Chapter to call me, they won't call. And number one, I wouldn't tell them to call you because you can't do that. You have to call them. They won't call you unless you call them first. You can't tell Ed, tell them to call me. No, I would never do that because you can't do it. And if I told them that, they would laugh in my face. Ed, come on, you know better than that. Ann has to call us. So yeah. And the guy that started Chapter, he's actually gone into Congress and tried to shut those call centers down. So yeah, John Oliver said the best place to call is SHIP, which is the state health insurance program. They're volunteers. And we used to do that in my office, and they're volunteers. So I, Chapter can attest to this. I know this from personal experience. There are SHIP volunteers that help people find a Medicare Advantage plan or a Medicare supplement plan or whatever the case for them, for people they volunteer to help other people. But when it comes to their own, they reach out to someone that does it for a living, like Chapter or, whoever. So yeah, it's interesting that they volunteer and they help other people. When it comes down to their own, they're like, oh yeah, there are too many variables and permutations, and I want to make sure I get the best one for me. So yeah, that's kind of scary. So if you get a great person at SHIP, then phenomenal, awesome. But Chapter and everybody, it's all free. They don't charge you anything for the help. So Anthony was given SSI because SSI didn't post 2009 work credits, didn't post for 10 years, made me take it 62, said it was too late to know when I was disabled. They know before they don't know. Yeah, yeah, that's why you got to check your earnings record. Remember in the old days, they used to mail out your, that statement once a year about Social Security. If you retire at your full retirement age, here's how much you're going to get. Here's your earnings record. Here's how much you paid last year and the year before. It was important to check those every year to make sure everything was posted correctly. And if it wasn't, then if you've got those IRS taxes that you actually filed and posted, then you provide that to Social Security. Depends. There's a limitation to that, a statute of limitation, 3 years, 3 months, and 3 days. It's weird. Yeah, you have to check. And they don't send out those statements as often. They still do after you're 60, but it's important to check your earnings record every year, because that's how they determine how much you're going to receive for the rest of your life, is how much you actually paid in. So, all right, I've got some video questions. Let's get into them.
Hi, thank you for all you do and trying to help us understand. My question is, well, first of all, my name is Michelle. I live in Missouri, around the Kansas City area, in a suburb north of there. But my question is, when Blue Cross and Blue Shield got rid of all of their Medicare Advantage plans, which is what I was on, I gave them a call because I've always been on Blue Cross and Blue Shield, even through my working career. And so I called them and asked them what they offered, and I asked them about the supplemental program. Now, this was somewhere between Thanksgiving and my birthday on the 1st of December. I can remember because it was between those two dates, somewhere that I had called them, because at Thanksgiving I was talking about I got to get busy on that. So at that time, I asked him how much the supplement is and tell me about it. And I was told by Blue Cross and Blue Shield that I could not get the supplement program because I had to do that when I first signed up with Medicare. And I couldn't do an Advantage. You can't go from Advantage to supplement. I said, but you took away all of our Advantage plans.
Okay. Yeah, this was in Missouri. That particular company left the entire state. And that was last year. Yeah, sounds like they gave you some wrong information. I don't think you're receiving Medicaid. If you're receiving Medicaid, then you can't get a Medicare supplement plan. But if you're not, then if a company leaves and or cancels your plan, which about 1 million people have received cancellations, they're the biggest company out there. I avoid using company names. The largest company out there is canceling over 600,000 people on their plans, particularly PPO plans. And because they don't make as much money as they do on an HMO plan. So they're canceling those. And another company's following suit. So same as last year, that company left the entire state of Missouri. And when that happens, they send you that cancellation letter. And the cancellation letter, at the bottom of the letter, it says you have guaranteed issue rights to get a Medicare supplement plan, either a plan G or the old plan F, depending on your age. So a G or an F, you're guaranteed no health underwriting, anything like that. So they were incorrect. If your plan, it sounds like your plan was canceled, then therefore you had guaranteed issue rights. But that sounds like it was last year. Yeah, it was definitely last year. And, right now it sounds like you got a Medicare Advantage plan. You definitely need to review your Medicare Advantage plan for 2026. But I would reach out to someone. You're going to reach out to Chapter, and tell them that, and maybe they might be able to find something, an exception that you were given incorrect information, and therefore you weren't able to use your guaranteed issue right last year because you tried, and they gave you that particular company gave you the wrong information. Because all these companies, they, just like John Oliver said, that all these companies, they want to sign you up in a Medicare Advantage plan because everybody makes more money. And, it's, yeah, the zero premium, really entices people as well. So yeah, I'd reach out to Chapter, whoever, and tell them that you were given incorrect information, and they will see if they can do something to get you a retroactive Medicare supplement plan. Yeah, that's terrible.
Hi, my name is Catherine, and I live in Modesto, California. I'm calling regarding the disabled widows benefit. I am currently applying, and I wonder if this benefit is a greater amount than my SSDI that I am currently receiving. Will I get that in addition to, or do the one cross over or cross out the other one? Let's see. My husband and I were married for 17 years, and he passed away in 2006. So
Okay, yeah, so you're receiving disabled widows benefits. It was 71.5% of his benefit amount. And yeah, once if you're eligible for Social Security disability insurance on your own, if it was more, you would have filed at that time, probably, right, for benefits on your own record. But because you're receiving essentially a surviving spouse benefits, and it sounds like you haven't touched your benefits on your own record, at 62, you could conceivably start retirement benefits on your own record if it's more. Probably, I don't think it's going to be more because you would have done it, spouse benefits on your own record or disability benefits on your own record. So yeah, you will continue to get disabled widows benefits. The only thing, your benefits on your own record don't come into account probably once you hit your full retirement age and you start getting those delayed retirement credits or the cost of living allowance or whatever the case may be. So just check your benefits on your own record every now and then. Probably once you turn 68, 69, 70, that's when you probably have the best chance of your benefits being higher than your disabled widows benefits. And at that time, you just switch over to your own record. So that's probably your best bet.
Hi, Ed. This is Mary. Can you tell me how the buyback program works on Medicare Advantage? If they have a buyback amount, since that comes out of the Social Security check, how does Social Security know which plan you've chosen and that you have a buyback? Thanks.
Yep, it just computer systems talking to each other. So what she's talking about is the Medicare Advantage Part B give back. You sign up for Medicare Advantage, and if there's one available in your area, you look for the give back, and they pay for part of your Part B. $50, $100, $185, maybe all of it, depends on your particular area. And then what happens is when you sign up for that Medicare Advantage plan, you know, whoever you sign up with, they put it in the system, and that talks to Medicare. And then the insurance company, kind of the computer system talks to Medicare, and Medicare talks to Social Security. So if your monthly Part B is $185 and they're going to pay $85 of it, they only take $100 out. So it's the computer systems talk to each other. Sometimes, well, almost always, it takes, you're like, hey, starting January, I'm not supposed to be paying. Sometimes it takes a month or two to catch up, but they always catch up. And then if they take it out and they're not supposed to, the full amount from your Part B, they'll figure it out after a month once the computer systems start talking to each other.
Hi, Dr. Ed. My name is Tamara. I have 2 questions for you today. The first question is about back pay. So I applied for disability in July of this year. I listed September of last year as my first day of disability. And I was wondering if it does get approved in, say, another 5 months or so, will they pay back pay from September all the way to the point they approve it? And my second question is...
So let me answer this one first. If they determine you became disabled last year, 2 years ago, whenever the case may be, there's a 5-month waiting period. Everybody has to wait 5 months before your first check starts. So there's that. But yeah, if they determine you became disabled a year and 5 months ago, then you'll get a year's worth of back pay. And what a lot of people miss is that also counts as the year. If you get a year of back pay, that means you were on disability for a year. So remember, once you're on disability for 24 months, your Medicare starts automatically. So that's already a year. So there's some people that get approved for disability going back 2 years and 5 months, go back 2 years, and they get their first lump sum check of a bunch of money, and then they get a Medicare card in the mail. And they're like, I just got approved, 2 weeks ago. Yeah, but now you're on Medicare. So, and there's a lot of people out there that think it's because people get so much junk mail that looks like Medicare. So they get this card in the mail that looks like Medicare, and they get a bunch of other junk mail. And so they throw it out and they don't know they actually have Medicare. Yeah, that's terrible. So come on, let's reach out to those people and help them out.
If it does get denied, should I go ahead and get an attorney to do an appeal? I've been told by friends that you should do the first application yourself, and then if it gets denied, then get an attorney. And do you happen to know, if I do that, what general percentage of your payment they'll take for their fees? Thank
you. All right. Thank you. You're welcome. All right. So you can get an attorney. I never want to say anything bad about attorneys, even though I think a lot of bad things about it. Anyway, but I don't want to tell people not to get one. You can get one if you want. But the first one, you've already done it. The reconsideration is super simple. It takes about 10 minutes to file that level of appeal. You just do an SSA 561. If you got any new doctors, you update the new doctors, and then you just send it up, and then someone else that didn't look at your case the first time will reevaluate your case. So the reconsideration takes you about 10 or 15 minutes worth of work. If that's level of denial, so you've got the initial, and then you got the reconsideration, do those yourself, and then the third stage, the administrative law judge stage, that's when I definitely recommend an attorney. And then if you use an attorney, they get by law 25% of back pay, up to $9,200 this year. They get a nice, attorneys, make sure they get a nice cost of living increase on their fees, but yeah, not so much the rest of us. So, all right, let's see. I think this is our last question.
Yes, my husband has dementia. He's had a kidney transplant. He has it's all military related. He's ex-Marine, Vietnam, and I was wondering how to qualify him for disability. I don't know what else to say. He has cancer. He's on very strong medication for the kidney transplant. It's caused many problems. Could I please get an answer? I haven't known where to turn or who to call for help. So this would help a lot if I could get some answers.
Okay. All right. So tell him simplify. Hoorah. All right. So if he was a Marine, if he served in Vietnam, he's way past his full retirement age. So for Social Security disability, there is no such thing as disability from Social Security past your full retirement age. So there is nobody in the country receiving disability benefits after their full retirement age. Everybody, if you're receiving disability benefits and your full retirement age is 67, 1 month you're receiving disability benefits. Once you hit 67, you're receiving just regular retirement benefits. You might still be disabled, but you're not receiving disability benefits. You're receiving retirement benefits. So you can't file for disability benefits after your full retirement age. There's an exception if you just, if your full retirement age is this month, you just turned 67, but your disability began, before that, then you can file. But if he served in Vietnam, then I don't think that applies to him. So Social Security disability, no. Hopefully you've checked to see if either one of you can receive spouse benefits on each other's record. So hopefully you check there. If his benefit amount is under $967, he can receive what's called SSI aged. It's supplemental security income. You have to have low income, low resources, and the max is $967 for this year. They take both of your income into consideration, so that's probably not the case. So in terms of the VA, hopefully he's got VA disability. He's checked that out. A Vietnam vet, I would definitely check out, the Veterans of Foreign Wars, Vietnam, organizations. I'm sure he's receiving, he's a Marine. I'm sure he checked out the VA and receiving all that. But in terms of Social Security, there's no disability there. If you're having a hard time, paying for the Part B and all the extra costs, you can apply to Medicaid from the state, whatever your state calls Medicaid, Medi-Cal, Denali Care, Access, whatever. There's different names. You can apply for Medicaid from the state, and they'll pay for that $185, the Part B premium, and then give you some other benefits, financial benefits as well, covering, deductibles and co-insurance. So that one. The low-income subsidy, it's the extra help with prescription drugs. I don't know if he uses the VA. If he uses the VA usually has very, very good, prescription drug program. Unfortunately, that's pretty much it. If you want to if you got some other questions, please make a follow-up video and say, okay, I understand this, and this, but what about this? And if you've got any other questions, follow-up questions, please record a video, and I will answer it the same day. I appreciate it. All right, we are done for today. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about SNAP, food stamps. We're going to talk about the craziness of it all, what's going to happen in the future, what's happening now, and we need to crowdsource some help. We've already got Bella talking about in West Bradenton, Florida, was at Lewis Park. I think I used to play there. I went to Manatee Elementary School, so I used to go fishing on the Green Bridge there and stuff. So I grew up in Bradenton, so I know exactly where she's talking about. But I guess they're do some a food bank there. They hand out food at that place. So if you know any other place that gives out food that people can go to in your community, let's do that tomorrow. We'll do a live and answer questions and try to help other people. And we'll do it for an hour or two and see if we can help as many people as we possibly can. All right. Y'all take care. Have a beautiful night, and we'll see you tomorrow. And please, 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 please take care of each other. Bye-bye.